Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you and Senator Rubio for having this hearing, and it gives me a great deal of confidence that fish issues are going to get a great deal of attention knowing your two states. And I'm reminded of what the late Commerce Secretary Ron Brown once said, that he was the Secretary of Commerce, but he guaranteed if a member of Congress was calling him, it was about fish. And so I'm very glad that we're having this hearing. And I'm glad to see all of you, and sometimes, you know, we're up here thinking, okay, who's underneath these policies, and so take no offense to my next comment, but I am concerned with the start of discussions of Magnus and Stevenson that we don't have a Commerce Secretary that's confirmed. Jane Lubchenco is gone, and Mr. Schwab, you're here for a position that isn't filled, so you're the fourth one down in a agency that we need to have some leadership out of as it relates to how do we resolve these fishing issues. So a couple questions I have for you, Mr. Schwab. One, the U.S.-Canadian Albacore Treaty, are we getting better data so that the U.S. fishermen can get a better shake on tuna, and that are we doing a good job? I know state handles part of this, but your data can be critical. And I'm interested on the ground fish fishery. Are we, you know, with all the discussion that's happening with funding and cuts, are we going to have an adequate observer program to make sure that this fishery is run well, and what do we need to do to make sure that that happens? And then I'd like to see if we could also get an answer from Mr. Fisher about my colleague from Arizona, who I'm sure doesn't see a lot of salmon, but what his amendment would do to impact salmon recovery, Senator McCain's amendment that he's been considering on the floor to zero out pack surf. So if I could get comments on all of that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Cantwell. Regarding data to support the discussions around the U.S. Albacore, U.S.-Canada Albacore Treaty, I think we have a pretty good handle on where the fish are being caught and where the fish are being landed over a long period of time and more recently. I think that's part of sort of the crux of the challenge, in that these fish do, as you know, move historically up and down the coast, or are available historically up and down the coast between U.S. and Canada waters, and more recently they have predominantly been present in U.S. waters. So, which has led to some of the positions that have been taken more recently, and but some of those longer-term considerations, as well as the interests of the processors who receive those fish up and down the coast, are part of what the U.S. is factoring in our discussions regarding the future of that treaty.
And on the ground fish?
And on the observer program, as I think you know, the Council in putting the new plan in place required 100% observer coverage. We supported substantially in year one, and the cost of those observers. We actually in year two changed the schedule to supplement more heavily the observer costs that the fishermen are experiencing. Our expectation is that the fisheries become more profitable. The fishermen will be in a position to assume a greater share of those costs over time. We're monitoring that situation very closely, as we are in other parts of the country. I think the other part of that equation, however, is bringing those costs down, and a big part of that is looking at some of the alternative technologies that might be out there. And Mr. Fisher mentioned the work that the Pacific States Commission is doing very closely with us in support of some of the experimentation of some alternative monitoring technologies.
Thank you. I think every time the agency is before this committee, though, what I'm interested in is the commitment to the ground fish observer program as a key component. And so we never want to see NOAA backing away from it. So you're not backing away from it. You're saying you're going to get it done. You're going to weather the storm whatever way you can.
We are doing the best we can to help help the fishermen undergo this transition, and supporting that to the extent that is necessary and that we can financially. And obviously, budget challenges are very real for us.
But you're not going to back away from ground fish observing?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fisher, I'll come back to you with a follow-up on that. I just want to, the Canadian fleet is so much larger than ours on the tuna, but I'll get back to you in a written question on that. But Mr. Fisher, I wanted to get your comments on the salmon issue, because we're making some progress in salmon recovery. What would the impact be if we cut the salmon recovery program?
Yes, Senator Cantwell, we are making a lot of improvements in terms of salmon habitat. Those funds basically go directly to the states. They're not used for operational things. Many of those funds have been used for habitat work. Senator Murray and your office have been very, very supportive of this over time. So if we cut this out, we're going to instantly probably have a problem in terms of some of the habitat work that's being done by the states and through a lot of the local watershed districts where those funds are actually being spent. So we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater right now. I don't think it would be timely at all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.